Hi, this is Anuradha Kedia. I'm co-founder of the Better India and the Better Home, India's largest sustainability-focused home care product range called the Better Home. So together we internally call it the Better Company. If you want, you want to call it that, you can. But it's not our official name. We are the Better India and the Better Home. The Better India basically was a blog that started out in its original avatar. What happened in 2008 was really a side project for my co-founder Dimant and me, and the idea was to explore setting up a business for good. So we wanted to make sure that we are, harnessing the power of the internet, power of communities, power of social media, everything that was emerging at that point of time. Right, we're talking about 2008, so we had Blogspot, we had, Orkut, and just Facebook that was just becoming popular, and Twitter was just becoming popular. And what we were seeing was that there was so much potential to harness a lot of these emerging digital technologies for creating social and environmental good. Basically harnessing the power of these technologies to create communities that can be brought together to create something good. And what we felt we saw all around us, unfortunately, was an overemphasis on all that was bad. So there was, in the media all around us, and it was fortunately before the time of all the screaming headlines that you have these days, the TV channels. But even then, just seeing all the headlines that screamed about corruption, scandals, scams, rape, crime, murders, everything else apart from something good that somebody did, whether it was somebody who helped an orphan child, or somebody who helped create, or plant 100 trees, or somebody, those kind of initiatives were getting zero recognition. We felt that there was a huge emphasis on issues and problems, but there was zero emphasis on solutions and things that worked, and things that and initiatives that people took, and innovations that people were coming out with, and all of the things that help society move forward. Right. So this is something that struck us both very deeply, and it was trying to address this issue, this concern, that really led us to explore the medium of storytelling as a medium of good. So we felt that we wanted to create a community of do-gooders, in the country, who come together to help resolve issues, to help find solutions, to help think out of the box. And we felt storytelling was a very powerful medium to enable that to happen. So that's really where the genesis of the Better India started, to use the power of storytelling, to use the power of words, to use the power of journalism towards good. So that's where we started in 2008, with both Hemant and I doing this, on the side over weekends along with our day jobs. And we just started covering, stories we came across in Bangalore, where we are both based out of. And we started covering individuals, change makers, innovators, small NGOs, anybody who was trying to do something to help another person, to change the status quo, to stop complaining and to start doing, as we call it. So that's how it really started. And we continued doing this for about 3-4 years on the side, and then I quit my full-time job and I started working on the Better India full-time. And Hemant also joined me in 2015. So that's where we really started, accelerating, putting the pedal on the on the metal. And then we started growing a team. We have a team of over 70 people working with us today. The whole idea has really been, how do we create impact with everything we do. And so at the core of it all, at the heart of the business, there is impact. So, while each story also generates impact in its own way. We have funded slum schools. We have, we have impacted policy and influenced policy decisions. So on an ongoing basis, we take up impact campaigns that help us create some sort of tangible impact in the society as well. When we started in 2008, of course, we started from scratch, right? We started with zero. So I think the only reader we both had was like each other of the Better India, right? So the number would be 2. But blogging was, I think, an established form of communicating on the internet by then, but there was a small universe of bloggers. It wasn't as widespread as it is now, and social media was also in its very nascent stage. So we started with, I think, 2 readers, 2 of us, and then it just grew by word of mouth through friends and family. So we just started sharing it in our networks. People started liking what we wrote, because basically everyone went like, wow, I didn't know that there was something like this, or I really feel that this is a great solution. We should implement it in more places. People felt that there was a need for this kind of, this is the first time people started seeing this kind of journalism, right? And they started seeing that there is an alternative that could be equally, if not more powerful than the mainstream, right? Which is actually giving people ideas, giving people inspiration, giving people ways, essentially empowering people with tools and resources and information to go out and make a difference themselves, right? So I think this is what took the imagination of all the people who came across our stories, and that's the reason why it started growing by word of mouth, to the extent that within a few weeks and months of our starting, we started getting a lot of response from random people we had never come across, right? So what happened, and very beautifully it happened, was that people from all walks of life started reaching out to us. We had people who were working on the field as doctors, as lawyers, as social workers, NGO workers, and in different areas, and as water conservationists, as so educationists, all kinds of people started reaching out to us and telling us about initiatives that they had come across, or something that they were doing, or something that they felt should get a wider audience, right? That should also get reported and highlighted and spotlighted. So those are the kind of people who started reaching out to us, and within a few months, mainstream journalists started reaching out to us and asking us if we would cover their stories, because their newspapers refused to do that. They didn't feel they had an audience for that. So that was the beautiful, the power of positivity, as we think it was, because it was a universal need that was kind of untapped. And once people came to know about it, came to know that there is such an outlet, there is such a platform that would give a voice to good deeds, to good initiatives, to good things happening, we started getting a lot of people reaching out to us and sharing their stories, sharing their experiences, their initiatives and things like that. So that's really how it grew to the point that today we reach out to 150 million people every month with our stories. So I think it's and the beauty of it is that this has been such an organic growth, over the years, without any deep pockets. We didn't have any money to spend on promotions and this and that, everything that people do nowadays. So that's the reason I think we have such a deeply involved and engaged audience and community that we've built over the years. I come from neither journalism background nor sustainability background, right? I think these are all skills and interests that I've picked up along the way. My background is basically I grew up in Bangalore itself and went to school here. And I then went on to graduate from RV College of Engineering in civil engineering. So this was my interest really at that point of time. I really was excited about doing civil engineering. I graduated as a gold medalist there. I went on to work for a couple of years in Infosys and then in the real estate sector. And post which I joined the Indian School of Business in Hyderabad for the MBA course. So after graduating from there, and I also met my partner Dimant at ISB, and that's when both of us decided to really start thinking and doing something in the social sector. I think I got exposed to some of these concepts at B School because we had a net impact club, which took on good initiatives that looked at ways in which our community of students could help out, conduct outreach programs in the marginalized communities in and around Hyderabad, and things like that. So I think I got exposed to a lot of such concepts at B School, and I came across a lot of people who genuinely worked in the space of social change and impact, and they left a deep impression on me as well. So I think after that, with that kind of exposure, I really started thinking a lot more deeply about things around the kind of things we are exposed to and the kind of issues that we face around us. And we felt that there was there were so many people we knew who were involved in good work, but we felt very strongly that those voices were not being heard. That work was not getting any kind of recognition. Nothing that they did took up any prime time space. It was only the negativity. So that was another reason I think we started thinking about how do we highlight this work, how do we amplify this work. Is there some way that we can actually help people see that there's so much good happening in our country that people don't normally come across, and there's such a huge brain drain as a result of the opposite. On the other hand, we had a lot of friends, we knew a lot of people who were involved in good things, so we felt that there was a sort of a mismatch somewhere, and we had to kind of create this sort of bridge for people to recognize that there was good happening as well. I think the thing is that there wasn't a particular trigger event that I could pinpoint, right? But I think I could call it a series of events that led to what we felt and led to the formation of the Better India. Because the reason is, like I said, in B School, I got exposed to a lot of people who worked in the social sector, and we undertook a lot of activities that try to make a difference in people's lives. So that was one heavy exposure. And then beyond that, even after we graduated and came back to Bangalore, both Dimant and I were also, Dimant was also involved before ISB, and I was involved after graduation with a couple of NGOs that worked in different areas. So I was involved with the VGKK Trust, which worked with tribals in the Chamarajnagar area in the BR Hills, with an amazing personality called Dr. Sudarshan. And similarly, Dimant had been involved with something called Dream School Foundation, which worked with kids from low-income families and help them come up to speed after their government schools. So we worked with a lot of with amazing people who were trying to make a difference, and we again had a huge circle of friends who also worked and tried to help out in their own ways. So I think it was a series of such exposures and such events that made us keenly feel the need to kind of amplify people's work in this space, because a lot of this work was just not being recognized, or being these were all unsung heroes. We felt everybody was an unsung hero, and all this work, it needed so much effort to scale up. Like, there was so much more need for people to learn about it, to come and help out, to donate or their time, money, effort, whatever it was, to all these causes. But there was also such a huge lack of trust and awareness in what people were doing, right? Because I think we was just surrounded by so much negativity. It kind of really has a deep impact on our mind. I think it was a lead up of a lot of different events and exposures in our life that led to this idea. Each story becomes like your baby, right? So you feel close to every story that you cover and share with the world. But I think some of the earliest ones are the ones you are most attached to, and some of the ones that come to your mind every single time, and you're so grateful because you got the opportunity to actually make a difference in people's lives. So I can rattle off, like I can go on about so many such stories, but I think one or two that really jump out at me right now, as one was around this school, for girls who were visually impaired, and so for deaf and blind girls basically, and it was based in Chennai. And it was essentially for, again, girls from marginalized communities and all of that. So they didn't have a lot of funds, but they were doing incredible work by actually educating and training these girls. So we came across this story from one of our contributors in the early days, and they wrote to us and told us about the amazing work they do, and also the fact that one of their compound walls was broken and they needed some funds to repair that. So we put out this story, and this was very early days, right? I think it was around 2009 or so. So we had a couple of hundred readers, perhaps. And when we put out the story, there was a bunch of techies from Bangalore who learned about it. And they packed up, over one weekend and drove down to that school to meet the principal. And they not only, collected funds to build the wall of the school, but they also helped them build, reconstruct their hostel facilities and all of that. So it was such early days, but what that really reinforced was the power of words. It was just one story, out of so many stories that we put out, but each story leads to so much of change. And it's so difficult for us to track this, but this one we came to know because the school reached out to us, over email, and said, who are you guys? Because, these people came out and they said that they read about us in the Better India. This really was something that really touched us. Similarly, I mean, there are so many such stories. There was another one that early on was around this photography club for visually impaired, again. So we had written about the story because we found it so fascinating. It's not just impactful, but also amazing that there is this photography club, that helps people who can't see, but helps them take photographs, right? So that was really an incredible concept and idea that we wanted to talk about and spread awareness about. So we wrote about this club. And there was a visually impaired girl who got in touch with us and said, thank you so much for covering this story, because this is how I came to know about this club. And all my life I wanted to learn photography, but everybody made fun of me. And when I learned about this club, I was able to go reach out to them, join them, and now I'm able to, take photographs. And so this was another moment that touched our heart. So it's just been an incredibly fulfilling journey for us over the 12 years. Every single day we hear about such stories. No, I think it's a very philosophical question for sure. But I think over the years you just kind of learn to be more pragmatic, right? So I think it's really a lot to do with what kind of exposure people have had, right, in their lives. I think a lot of us have become very cynical in our lives, and we refuse to believe that anything good might happen, and maybe from early on we haven't really got that kind of exposure or that kind of hopeful sort of intervention and things like that. So I do come across, we all do, I think, in our lives we come across people who don't really believe anything good might happen, who really sometimes might just bring down the energy even if somebody else is working on something and people just kind of don't see eye to eye, or don't believe things they could be successful and things like that, right? I really think everybody has their own circumstances, their own things that they have gone through in their lives, and a lot of who people are and how they react to things, and how they how they, what they believe in and what they don't. A lot of it is preconditioned, or rather conditioned over years of what people are exposed to. So I think it's hard for us to really judge others conditions and others lives and others beliefs, and I think each person has their own backgrounds, and it's really hard for us to really pass a judgment on what's right and what's wrong. All we can do is try to expose them to more positivity, to more change, and help people see that yes, there is a lot of there are a lot of things that are happening, and it's really not all that negative. And I think the more we focus on negative media, the more we focus on things that are broken, things that don't work, things that seem hopeless, I think the more we are creating a generation of people who are going to be extremely cynical and extremely, unbelieving in that good things happen. I think over the years, what the Better India started with a deep focus on social change. So we used to focus around initiatives in the space of, education, in the space of poverty upliftment, in the space of gender equality. A lot of, if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, right, a lot of it was focused around social, aspects. But over the years, we've also got very, very sensitized towards environmental issues, and primarily the fact that, what a huge role, every action of ours is playing on the environment around us. And how real climate change is, how close it is, something that we can't really ignore anymore. I mean, we are ignoring it at our peril right now. So this has been something that I started taking very, very seriously about 3 years ago, and started working, trying to learn a lot more and go deeper in this space, and learn, about the issues that we are plagued with, what kind of solutions, people are working on, what kind of long-term impact we could have on this space. And this is, essentially, it's a result of all of this interest and research that we launched the Better Home range of cleaners, non-toxic and biodegradable home cleaners, sometime last year. So it's been a couple of, it's been almost a year since we launched, and it's really a passion project for me especially, because it's something that I know it's tough to get people to, a lot of people to really understand concept of climate change and all. These seem like really far off ideas, or something we need to worry in the distant future. But I think all of us can now start agreeing that we are living in an age of extreme changes in the climate. We are seeing the kind of destruction we are causing, the kind of harm we are causing to marine lives, to the other creatures we cohabit this planet with. So I think it's really important that we take note right now. And this has also come as a result of my own the kind of issues I've had to grapple with, environmentally, like with health issues, as a result of the kind of environment we put ourselves in, right? The kind of harmful chemicals that we are surrounding ourselves with in our homes, in our offices, everywhere that we go. So it's not just outdoor air pollution that we need to worry about. It's indoor health air pollution that's actually causing us way more harm than we realize. So I realized that this is something that I felt we at the Better India, the team at the Better India, was very well poised to kind of take on this mantle. of creating awareness around the kind of chemicals we are using in our daily lives, the kind of chemicals we are exposing ourselves to, our children, our pets, everyone around us, as well as leaching them into our environment, into our water bodies, exposing all the marine life, as well as, causing long-term destruction of the planet. So this is something, whether it was the foaming of lakes in Bangalore, or whether it's the kind of the air pollution that we're seeing around us, the fumes that we see around us, all of this has been having a deep impact on me for the past couple of years. I've started, reading and researching a lot about this, going deeper in this, and I feel that it is something that we, something we feel passionate about. How do we? I know it's a kind of habit change that we're trying to get people to adopt, but people really need to understand the kind of long-term damage they're doing to themselves, their families, their homes, when they are exposing themselves to the chemicals that we use, the carcinogenic, compounds that we use every day. So this is something that we are leading with awareness on the Better India. We're seeing great traction so far, but it is we definitely have miles to go before we reach the large population of the billions that we have. It starts right from the sourcing of raw materials, right? By virtue of the kind of raw materials we get, and we're sourcing them ethically. We're sourcing only plant-based, raw materials, and they are essentially non-toxic as well, and they're biodegradable. So taking into account all of these parameters, right, the raw materials themselves become expensive. I mean, there's a reason why conventional cleaners, the mainstream companies are not using these products, significantly bringing down our margins, as compared to conventional cleaners. But at the same time, since we are a mission-driven organization, we are trying our level best to continuously keep innovating and bringing down the cost. Because for us, it's really, really important to make sure that sustainable living does not remain a concept limited to the few who can access it, right? We want to make sure that it is accessible to the masses. And for that, you have to be price competitive. I mean, let's face it, India is a price sensitive market, right? And we are a largely middle class demography. We none of us have a lot of extra money lying around to spend on household products, right? So definitely price consciousness is something that is important in the Indian market, and that's the reason why we want to make sure that we are the first brand that's able to crack that in the Indian context, that we are able to make sustainable living affordable to one and all, so as close as possible, though it's going to be very, very difficult challenge to really compete on price with the conventional products that are there. To be able to compete with them is extremely hard with the kind of raw materials that we are sourcing. But at the same time, we are investing in a lot of in-house research. We are the amazing part is, since we launched about 10 months ago, we've already managed to slash our prices by 20% when we hit some economies of scale. So we do see that as we are able to make this a more and more mass concept, we are going to hit more and more economies of scale. We are going to be able to bring down the costs further and further. So it is all about adoption. It is all about how far we can go with this. And it's all about how many people are going to make that shift happen. It is definitely going to bring prices down. It has to be a mindset to begin with, because I mean, if I look at my own journey with sustainability, right, I think it was initially a mindset, because I started learning more about it. I started learning about my own impact on the environment. I started understanding what sort of harm and degradation I was causing to everything around me. And I started understanding that there is a possibility to change, right? It's never too late. So I think it starts with that mindset. I mean, unless you make up your mind and you start kind of introspecting and going deeper and understanding where you want to be on the sustainability spectrum, I don't think you can start making that change happen. Once you create that mindset is when you can actually start creating the lifestyle around you, right? Because that's actual reflect in your lifestyle. So whether you start composting, whether you start growing your own vegetables, whether you start segregating your waste, whether you start, so it's all about mindfulness, getting a deeper understanding of yourself and your environment, and then you start I think everything starts manifesting in your lifestyle as well. You brought out a very interesting point, and I fundamentally believe that Indians have been extremely sustainable to begin with. Everything that we do, I mean, even I would say my mom's generation was a lot more sustainable than we are today. I mean, she would never throw out a single plastic cover. She would reuse them and reuse them and reuse them till they tore, right? We used to take our bags to the vegetable shop. So I think it's just this one generation that has seen the maximum, I would say, unsustainable practices, and it's really kind of going back to our roots. It's like a cycle, right? Yeah. I think it's just about creating that awareness, making it accessible, making it easy for us to go back and adopt that lifestyle, because it's just become super convenient to get everything wrapped in plastic, or everything that we are kind of in the name of convenience that we're getting used to. Call me an optimist, but I definitely believe that there is hope. And the reason I say that is because it's not just in India that we're seeing the difference, right? It is a global phenomenon. Sustainability is being recognized around the world as something of urgent need for all of us to move to, right? India is never too far behind in terms of in the kind of globalized world we're living in today. We're never too far behind, and of course we love to emulate our Western counterparts in a lot of things that we do, right? So whether it's veganism, whether it's shifting to organic, whether it's kind of becoming more conscious consumers, I think it's a trend that's taking shape across the world. The kind of conversations we're having around sustainability itself, and because we've been running the Better India for so long, and we have seen that shift happen. From the time we started in 2008, like I said, we used to write a lot around, social issues, a lot of that, to now more than 60% of our content is around sustainability, because that is the conversation, most of our readers are also interested in. They are interested in knowing about organic farming. They're interested in knowing about terrace gardening. They're interested in knowing about recycling. They're interested to know about innovations that are coming up in the sustainable living space. So a lot of our, more than 60% of our content is focused on sustainability, and that's because that really gets us the largest, page views as well. Because that there is a genuine need and interest in people to learn about sustainability, to follow sustainable lifestyles, to make those changes happen in their own lives. I mean, the Better Home itself, one of the primary reasons we decided to launch our own, range of home cleaners was because there was a constant request from our readers asking us to launch, sustainable products. Because constantly we would talk about some company or the other that was doing something, but they were always at a small scale. Could you help us with the contacts, or we're trying to reach that company but they don't have stocks or things like that. So we felt that the supply chain was kind of broken. No one brand was able to create or to meet the demand that was there. The demand was way bigger than the supply in the market. And we felt there was a need for an umbrella brand to come in and create, make sustainable living in India a huge concept, right? To understand, to make that shift happen. So that's really, it was a reader input that led us to start thinking very seriously about launching our own set of products as well. I really hope it's never. I personally feel that that humans will go extinct before the earth does. That'll definitely give a huge chance for a lot of other animals to survive. But I do think, considering the kind of awareness we are getting, people are getting, learning about the adverse impact that, fossil fuels are having, all our greenhouse gases are having, learning about the kind of changes we can make, and, making those changes in our own lives, as well as, in industrial and various other capacities, whether you learn about the Paris Agreement, whether you're seeing almost all countries come out and pledge to become carbon neutral, some by 2030, some by 2050, things like that. People are putting a timeline to controlling their to controlling the harmful effects that their actions are having, right? So I think that awareness and that affirmative action is going to help us slow down the time that we have left over. So I am very hopeful that we will be able to find different ways. We will all come to our senses, and we will stop that clock from ticking away. And let's not be very pessimistic about it. 2020 definitely hit us all in the gut, right? Like nobody expected anything to bring the world to a standstill like this pandemic did. And definitely left us all in shock. But I think the good thing was that we were able to act fast, because we are a small and nimble organization, and we are digital first. So we were able to kind of adapt to remote working really soon. So by mid-March last year, we were all working from home itself. So thankfully, we are in an industry which was not greatly impacted by just the concept of work from home. But I think the biggest thing that 2020 taught us was resilience. The business, cultural, and social challenges that were thrown at us were really immense. But we came together as a family and worked from 22 different cities towards the same goal, right? And since we are a purpose-driven organization, I think the challenges just made us stronger. And I think that's something that is very beautiful about our organization and the people I work with, right? So all of us, solidified our mission, our vision, and worked towards a common mission. And I think that's what really kind of kept us all grounded and kept us together. There were some things that we were thankful for, right? In fact, actually, there was so much that we were grateful for, and we knew we were deeply conscious about the kind of difficulties and challenges that were being faced by large sections of the society. So we were, I think, all of us really grateful to have jobs, to have something to look forward to, and the fact that we are able to make a difference every single day, right? We are in the business of health, immunity, and well-being, right? And a pandemic just amplifies the need for all of these several fold, right? So whether it's the Better India, which caters to mental well-being, there was a need to hear something positive among all the gloom and doom that we were surrounded by every single day, right? Every day we just heard about how many people were dying or how many people were getting infected, and all of the terrible news. And I think a lot of things we really needed to know, but at the same time we needed to know that what kind of work was being done what kind of innovations people were working on, what kind of health initiatives that were being taken up. So I think we played a very important role in making people aware about and kind of bringing some stability in people's lives and minds, right? So I mean, that shows in our numbers too. We more than tripled our readership in the last year as well. So I think that just shows what immense purpose we served with the kind of stories, with the kind of work we did. We also launched campaigns to help migrant workers and frontline work. So that was another, gave us a lot of opportunities to directly impact lives and be of, help our community also get involved in rescue missions. And the third thing I would say is that the Better Home gave us an opportunity to really, because there was so much concern around, immunity, and I think there was a lot more openness to understanding, to becoming aware, from people. I think it gave a huge boost. Within just a few months, we shipped out to over 400 cities and towns and villages in the country, so that shows the massive. Initially we had thought that it'll be a lot slower, and we'll start with the metro cities where there's more awareness, where people, so it could be 10 to 20 of India's largest cities. That showed that this was becoming a universal conversation, right? How do we become more, how do we not surround ourselves with chemical, how do we increase our immunity, what kind of effect do all these chemicals have on our bodies, on our well-being, on our families. So I think these conversations were becoming center stage, and I think that helped us, bring the Better Home also to people and ease their adoption of the products as well. So I think all in all, I think because we were in the space of physical and mental well-being, I think we were able to survive and thrive through the pandemic as well, thankfully. I don't know, but I think just the fact that I think I was, one of the kind of naysayers, that you talk about, right? A lot of, I wouldn't really believe that a lot of good can happen in society. To coming to the stage where now I believe that, and I see hundreds of cases every single day, we've covered over 25,000 stories of people who make a difference, who are doing things selflessly to make a difference in others' lives or in our environment in various different ways. I think, I've become a believer. So I think there's always that possibility to change, the potential to change in everyone. And I think I'm a living example of that as well. I have a son who's 11, and for both of us, husband and I think it's very, very important to make sure he grows up with the right values, and if he doesn't exhibit any good behavior, then that's what keeps me up at night. So I think parenting is a really, really tough undertaking, and I think when we want to raise our kids with all the right values, making sure that they are sensitive, they grow up with empathy, they grow up with consciousness. I think anything if it doesn't exhibit that, it keeps us up at night. So it's also the same thing that gives you pride every time they exhibit that, and the same thing that keeps you up at night anytime your child does not. What inspires me is to see people give their all. Every single day we come across stories of people who went through terrible trials and tribulations, but they didn't give up. Whether it's physical challenges that people have had to endure, whether it's mental, whether it's as part of their circumstances, whether it's hunger and poverty, lack of resources, lack of opportunities. But every single time I hear a story of, I hear of anybody who went through all of that but came out stronger at the other end. I think it just kind of does something in my mind. It moves a little more towards the side. So and luckily in the business that I am, like I read these stories every single day, and I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to be inspired every day. So yeah, I think each and every story that I read in the Better India inspires me every day. Oh, I would tell my 18-year-old self to forward time and get the better home products right now. So I could save myself years and years of using the kind of terrible products I've used in my life. The reason is also because, it's caused a lot of health issues for me over the years. And now when I've learned so much more, I realized that if I had just done that for me and for my child after he was born and all of that, so over 2 decades, I could have saved myself from all of this exposure, and to save my plants and everything from all the damage that we do. I would also love to tell my 18-year-old self to pick up a lot of skills, because something that I love doing now, just reading up so many different things, trying out so many different things. I don't think I was that much into trying out different things back then. So I would just ask my 18-year-old self to just pick up so many other interesting things and not waste time studying. I don't want to sound preachy or anything, right? But I just say the best tip or the best advice that I can give is to start small, because a lot of times we just get so overwhelmed by the fact that there are so many problems to solve, and there's so much that's wrong with the world, and whatever little action I do is not going to make a difference, right? It's going to be a tiny grain of sand on the beach, and it's really not going to matter much. And that's just the mindset that I want to break. And I want to say that every little deed matters, every action matters, and we need to start small in our own homes, in our own lives. If we can start making that small difference, it's really going to add up. So let's not underestimate ourselves and our what our actions can do, and let's start small, and let's start today. So I think the best compliment that I have received is that the kind of compliments I do receive around the impact that the Better India has, right? Like I said, whether it was the girl who wrote to us that she read about the story and she could join the photography club, to the kids who reach out to us from the school and tell us that, thank you, because of you we're able to go to school now, or we're able to afford books and education. So I think each one of these I treat it as a compliment. It's really a compliment to my entire team, and I think it's just been phenomenal that way. Without wanting to sound cliche, but I've always been fascinated by Mahatma Gandhi, and I would definitely love to have the opportunity to meet the man and understand what moves him, what really gives him that sort of energy to inspire change in so many people. Besides him, I would love to, in today's day and age, I would love to meet Bill Gates to again understand, what drives all of that philanthropic mindset, what really makes him and what gets him excited, right, about different causes and really going behind them. So I would love to understand that, and I would love to meet Elon Musk, just to know what is the mind of a genius like. So these are three people I would definitely love to meet. Before I launched the Better Home, I tried to create a marketplace of sustainable products, of small enterprises that were making products which were good for the environment, which were good for society, using marginalized communities and all of that. So I really tried hard over almost I, with my team, of course, and my partners and everybody, we tried hard to set it up and run it for almost 1.5-2 years. But we were just not able to meet the demand with the small suppliers that we had, the small enterprises, because we had taken it as a constraint upon ourselves that we'll only work with small enterprises, and they were not able to scale up. They were not able to scale up quickly enough to meet the kind of demand we started getting. And the second part was, with in the Indian context, with the deep pockets that we have with a lot of marketplace players, right? Mm-hmm. And the kind of deep discounting and such conveniences and expectations that have been set up with consumers, with customers. I think we were not able to. I mean, we didn't want to go down that path. We didn't have those kind of margins, and we didn't want to, fleece the small enterprises we were working with. So we were not able to scale that up very massively, and that I think I consider one of my biggest failures and deepest regrets, because that is something I felt very, very strongly about, and I wanted to help those enterprises and those communities be able to sell their products, because we have the reach, we have the market with the Better India, right? The readers of the Better India, they're already a conscious consumer set. So yeah, I learned, and I mean, some of those learnings are what we have brought to the Better Home, essentially, because what we saw was the need to create an umbrella brand where we're working again with small enterprises, trying to make a difference. But we are not, we're not a marketplace. We're able to control things better because it's our own brand. We are trying to do it in a more controlled way, with our own range of products. I would say from my own learnings, I feel it's extremely important to really build a community, right? And build it very organically by creating value, right? Because if you're not doing that, and I mean, there are many other ways to grow. The way that will have the deepest impact and the longest lasting impact will be when you go slow and when you build a really large community of like-minded people who believe in your cause, who are willing to support your cause, and who are willing to change, right? So basically try and give value, right? Because that's something that we take very I think we believe very strongly in the Better India, is that every article that we put out, what's the purpose it serves, right? That's a question we ask ourselves. And I think because we have this inbuilt need to deliver something of value every single time, is why we have built this community which trusts us, which believes in us, which supports us and all of that, right? So I think that from my learning, that's been our most valuable asset. And I would advise anyone who's starting off to again go, try and build your own community, and then try to don't think of monetization options and all of that right away. That can come much later, at a much later stage. In the beginning, and always actually just focus on delivering value. We've used a lot of enterprise software, and we've been a bootstrap company, so we would try and go for free options. I think technology has been a huge driver of our success as well. It helped us, enabled us to keep our costs low and scale up rapidly without really ballooning up our expenses, right? So very early on, we started using Slack. We started using, Slack for internal communications. We started using Canva for all of our graphic, needs, and we used another resource called Typeform to create a lot of surveys and to ask questions and all of that. I think these are 3 resources that I would definitely recommend to anybody. So I think a lot of times I've been asked the question, are you a journalist, right? And I love to say very proudly that I'm not. And that's the reason I think I've been able to think very differently about journalism, right? And I think if you're not a journalist, you don't let that become an obstacle for you. Don't let that question, stop you from taking that step. And I'm really proud to say that most of the, some of the most amazing people I work with at the Better India are not journalists as well. They write beautifully, they do amazing research, they're able to do so much, but they're not journalists. What I mean to say is that don't let your background become an obstacle for what you want to do. If you're passionate about something, and I really don't think what you studied or what you've done earlier in life should really stop you from pursuing what you want to do next. That's a whopper of a question. I think you've asked me everything I could think of. I think I need to sleep over this. I don't know what I would like to bring to the world. I've not been a person who really thinks too much around, about the future. Like I really don't want to plan too much because, from a lot of past experiences, you learn that things never work out really how you plan, and I don't want to be disappointed, right? So I think what's been amazing, I mean, when I was studying, when I was doing my civil engineering, when I was growing up in Bangalore, I never thought that one fine day I will be starting what could possibly be India's largest impact platform. I will be launching a set of products that are going to help people change their cleaning habits, become more conscious consumers. I really never thought I will be creating all of this impact already, right? So I don't want to really think too much in the future. I would be immensely grateful if I would, continue to do this also for a long time to come. But having said that, I mean, I'm very passionate about, creating, directly working with, communities to help them succeed. So whether it's like trying to work with, underprivileged children and helping them come up to speed in their studies, making sure that nobody goes hungry. So a lot of these things are very dear to our hearts, and both Himant and I hope that we'll get to work on some of these projects in the future very, very directly as well. When you say onward, upward, right? For me, it always brings to mind a state where you are trying to grow as a person, right? You're trying to learn new things. You're trying to understand yourself better. You're trying to come to terms with your weaknesses. You're trying to optimize your strengths. As a woman, as an entrepreneur, as a person, I feel that, a lot of times we face a lot of challenges, right? Just in life, in business, whatever it is, you can't really escape that part of your life. But when you say onward, upward, I think it's a very powerful phrase to remind people that, there is life beyond this obstacle. There is a future that's going to be better, and you just have to cross this one particular hurdle, and you will see light on the other side. So that phrase is what it brings to my mind. It makes me feel that there's always a reason to get beyond any challenge. I mean, when you're facing challenges, they look immense. They always feel insurmountable. But every single thing is, and you just have to get over any particular obstacle and move on, and you will see that the path becomes much clearer and nicer on the other side. So yeah, I would hope all women, today's Women's Day, so I wish all women learn the concept of onward upward, because that's where we are all headed. They could reach out to me on my email ID. It's Anuradha at thebetterindia.com.